hello there. Nice of you to join me for a more peaceful review today. You see, I've noticed a bit of an epidemic on Roblox. Or, I suppose, in the horror genre in general, but mostly on Roblox. There are certain games with a troubled backstory that people love to hate and give no chance to, but when it comes to the gameplay, no one knows what they're hating on, given they have never even seen it. Yes, people judge a book by its cover, to use the very classic saying. I find this intriguing, and I do love my experiments. I've got time to kill before I gotta do something, so I thought, why don't we take a look into some black sheep of the Roblox horror catalog and see if they really are as bad as they sound. What was that? Hello? What the hell? I'm trying to do something here. Alone is the first game we're covering today, and if you've played the ever-popular Doors, you've probably heard of it. As some quick context, Doors revolves around you, the player, who is trapped in a mysterious hotel, and to even attempt to escape, or to find the answers within, you must travel to room 100 while avoiding monstrous foes. One of the most popular monsters is known as Seek, a one-eyed creature made of black goop who chases you multiple times during your journey. Now, let's take a little look at Alone, and I'm sure you can already see what the problem is. This game is hated because it is copying. A valid reason, honestly. But you know what they say, curiosity killed the 80s robot fox thing. Besides the inclusion of Seek's gym-addicted, yet noticeably more decent, cousin, what more could it possibly have lifted? And here we are, standing at a lonesome campsite, Claire de Lune droning on in the background. Which I must unfortunately not include because I can say with 99% confidence the developers don't own this rendition. On a side note, it's very funny to me that 2 of the games use this song as a theme and I had no idea until I started working on this video. To its credit, this first area's ambiance isn't actually that bad. Minus me ruining it. A fog over everything that sells the appearance of a lonely forest after a storm, and the orangey lighting makes this place feel peaceful. Honestly, if this was some sort of standalone liminal game, it wouldn't be half bad to wander around in for a bit. Unfortunately though, that's not the point of this place. Instead, it serves as a hub world similar to the hotel lobby from Doors, where you and whatever other players are around who can enter a vehicle to travel to the main game. Or, you know, buy ugly outfits, that too. So me and my group enter a car to start up a lobby. We sit and wait for the timer to hit 0, same old, same old. Except, when it does, nothing happens. Well, to 3 of us anyway. Poor Ninja, one of my mods, is teleported alone into the main game, leaving the rest of us stuck in the car. And I mean that quite literally. Thankfully, none other than JoJo Siwa comes to the rescue. She bursts onto the scene with grace and oh, never mind, there she goes. Back to square one, reset, and let's all get into the car again. 30 seconds pass, and once again, only a single person is kidnapped. This is clearly not working. Confused, I head to YouTube looking for anyone else who's played this game from start to finish, and wouldn't you know it, the first playthrough I find has more than one person participating. So clearly something is broken here. I give up and decide to bear this journey. Entering by myself finally lets me into a game where a logo is thrust into my face, fading into a pre-game shop. That seems familiar. Given I have no money, I'm not buying anything. As soon as the shop disappears, the phone rings and I have to pick it up.
Hello, kid.
A gruff man speaks and introduces himself as Bill, the watchman of the mansion. He lets us know the mansion will lose power soon and we'll have to turn on the power in the basement.
Turn on the generator soon. That's in the basement. Stay quiet, Stacy.
He's then interrupted by it's probably his daughter or something, whatever. He then reiterates that the mansion will lose power, and that's bad because we don't want to be in the dark. Oh good, I was smart enough not to use the same joke. After the man hangs up though, the power does not go out. We're free to rummage around in the drawers, and dear lord, not even counting the blatant mechanic copying, this feels awful to use. Rather than a quick and often automatic pickup of items, you have to manually grab everything in the drawer one by one. This is made difficult by the terrible hitboxes at play, and you'll probably just end up opening a bunch of other drawers or closing the one you're working on before you get anything out of it. And oh, it's time to talk about the items. There are technically only 4 useful or even usable items in this game: the chocolate, the money, the flashlight, and the batteries. Yet they somehow manage to open you up to even more bullshit. The money is, once again, really annoying to pick up. The chocolate is the only way to regain stamina. Yeah, it doesn't regenerate ever! And guess what? You can only carry 1 chocolate. Maybe you get to carry more if you manage to force the game to let you, but that barely happened for me. Find some batteries? Well, too bad if you don't have a flashlight. You can't pick them up even. Better find the light first, then backtrack your sorry self over to the batteries after. Oh, and what does it matter anyway? The game's been abandoned, so the flashlight doesn't even work anymore. I know it used to, though. There's another item too, the medkit. It probably does the obvious, regenerates health. But, oh, you know, nothing in the game hits you once. No, everything in the game is an instant death! So what is the point of a medkit then? Ugh. Ending the rant on that, you have an inventory limit to top off the BS. So you can't stack anything or regenerate flashlight energy by finding a fresh one, nothing like that. God forbid we copy the actual good parts of doors. Let's truck on. The current objective is to get to the basement. Wandering the very plagiarized-looking halls of my prison, I eventually stumble on the door to it, which is boarded up. The game ever so subtly informs me I'll need a hammer to break the boards. Okay, time for more aimless wandering. I find a ladder leading to the attic, though it's broken and is a real struggle to climb, so much so that I originally didn't think it was where I was supposed to go. In the attic, there is nothing, but there should be something. My friends insist that there's supposed to be a hammer there, but after multiple resets, I got annoyed and stopped playing the game for the day. Originally, that would have been the end of it, but of course, I get curious and I have to try again to see if I just got really bad luck. This time, I skip the pleasantries and run straight for the hammer, picking up nothing at all and taking the long way around the hall to trigger the cutscene from a different side just for good measure. And wouldn't you know it, there's the hammer! I didn't really know what superstitious thing I did to get it to show up, but on every subsequent run, I did the exact same things and it appeared without fail. I'm 90% sure this is a bug, maybe the object just evaporates after a certain period, but who knows with this game. With the hammer acquired, there's a new problem. The power went out when we picked it up, and in the game's current state, remember, the flashlight doesn't work, so that sucks. Turning the gamma up on my monitor works well enough for me to pick some stuff up, since I didn't earlier, and make it to the basement door to break off the boards. The man from earlier said we can turn on the power from the basement. One issue: the generator down here has no gas. Thusly, we must find a gas can. Now things get a bit tricky. Venturing off into the strange fusion of mansion and cave system, I hear movement deep within. Lurking in the passage, there's a strange, lanky creature crawling around. It looks almost like a worse version of the Scratcher from Escape the Backrooms, honestly. It wouldn't be a horror game if the object we needed wasn't behind where the monster is, so reasonably I assume I have to pass the monster to get the gas can. Easier said than done. Without the flashlight, it's incredibly dark, and wouldn't you know it, most hiding spots in this game are one-way death traps that are more likely to soft-lock you than help in any way. When I inevitably end up pissing the creature off, it turns out you can't outrun it, and that its jump scare is unreasonably loud for no reason. Death resets you back to the lobby every time, and yet the game seems to want you to replay a lot. Looking at the pre-run shop and the option to buy Revive. For 50 Robux, might I add. That's the highest price for reviving I've seen in any Roblox game. Obviously, it's not breaking the bank or anything, but you can tell what the intention was, and that's what rubs me the wrong way. This is not the kind of game that even needs a revive function. It's not replayable, since events never change, and the game itself is so short, you could just reset and not have spent that much time getting back to where you were. Back to where we were. I didn't manage to get past this monster, nor did I care to at this point. Instead, this is where I went to others for assistance. One such YouTuber was Bredian, who whose video was what alerted me to Alone's existence in the first place. I contacted him for some questions I had and to ask if I could mention some of the points he made in my video as well, such as the item pickups being annoying to grab. While I waited on a response from that, I found a few complete playthroughs on YouTube, and wait, is that only 13 minutes long? So the game's also criminally short. The person picks up the gas can and heads back to the generator, narrowly avoiding the monster. When the generator is turned on, the lights flare to life, and the main character's reaction to this is to magically teleport into the bedroom, declaring they should go to bed. I mean, same, I guess. It appears this game was janky even when it was working. Only one of the players gets teleported back to the bedroom, according to one of the videos I saw. Before they can get some rest though, a noise from the basement draws their attention, and so they rush to check. As they do so, the phone down there rings too, but it's picked up automatically, and a man named Ryan begins speaking.
My name is Ryan, and I'm kinda new to the watchman job, as the previous watchman Bill went missing. Also, champ, could you help me out? You see, I've lost my family heirloom in the observatory room. Would you mind collecting it for me? I'll owe you a favor if you do.
Okay, back down to the basement it is. The amulet is located in a new area, a maze of nondescript hallways, and it's lying on a dresser. When you pick it up, a phone begins ringing, and you've got to find it. This is a really annoying noise to have to listen to the whole time you're searching. Yeah, I get that it's a normal phone sound, but it is so loud. The audio mixing in this game has been consistently terrible so far. Suddenly, a new monster appears. I'm not sure how to describe this one. It looks like some sort of crawling xenomorph thing? Thankfully, there are lockers to hide in if it decides to chase you, and it loses aggro pretty much immediately. The phone seems to take a while to find. It's miserable with that loud noise constantly going on. It's not even in the maze to begin with. Before you can find it, you gotta find the exit, which glows a soft blue and features the game's logo awkwardly slapped on the walls. Then a spiral staircase sits at the back of the room, and that leads to one last area where the phone sits on a desk to the left. Picking it up, the following happens.
Hey Dad, it's me, Stacy. Can you
That's it?
Yeah, the eye monster on the cover of the game only shows up one time in the ending cutscene, and they never made another chapter. And you can't even see his eye. Well, I gave it a chance. There was a slim possibility it wasn't just an attempt to cash in on doors. After playing though, it's pretty freaking obvious. To address the main question, does it deserve to be hated? Yeah, probably. This is one of the few times where it's difficult even for me to see any positives about this. I only liked a few things. The colors, but they're stolen from doors so it doesn't count. The intro area, its atmosphere actually isn't bad and it is original to the game. The ending area, same as the intro, it's at least somewhat original and the design's not bad. And the fact that it has voice acting. It's not great voice acting, but there was effort. Besides these positive factors though, the rest of the game is a plagiarized mess with awful audio mixing, a boring plot, and the clear motive to take your money. Bredian confirmed for me, having played while the game was working, that the medkit is useless, the hammer is not supposed to be missing, and the ladder wasn't so difficult to climb before. He also gave me the point about the hiding spots being traps, especially helpful as I couldn't get far enough in to experience much of it. Overall, Alone doesn't even work nowadays, and even if it did, I wouldn't recommend playing. Well, anyway, I sure have been up here for a while. What was it that I was gonna be late for anyway? That's right, my game show I've always had and definitely didn't just put in here because I wanted to wear a suit. It's all very relevant. Let's meet our contestants. As usual, the contestant that correctly answers their single question? Is that right? Oh, we only have a few minutes? Okay. Will win a fabulous prize! Let's play the game show segment! Contestant 1, your question is, who's about to kick your ass? You? Nope, this guy. Oh, no one's gonna understand this inside joke. Contestant 2, your question. What social media platform is the #1 hater of games? And I suppose content creators as well.
I'll just guess. Twitter?
And she's done it again!
We've
A
never
correct answer! Leading us right to the final contestant. Your question is, what is the game we are reviewing next?
Oh, why that's no problem! It's gotta be the one and only Dandy's World!
Why, that's absolutely correct!
Dandy's World is a multiplayer mascot horror game created by Blush Crunch Studio and starring the one
Okay,
and only
shut up. I'm the one reviewing this, not you. Now for the big reveal. What's your prize? Why, it's right behind these curtains.
Put your hands up!
Oh boy, here we go. Dandy's World, the poster child of hated mascot games. Must have some real bad gameplay to get that title. Wait, what do you mean nobody's played it? Yes, that's right. Dandy's World has had so much controversy that no one even wary of it would dare to give it a look-see. I mean, I'm not judging. I was literally the same way last year. I had a fair few people trying to get me to play it, and I refused every time. And I fully intended to keep on not playing it. That is, until Quinn became interested in it and wanted people to play with, as I was in desperate need of social interaction after hiding away post-accident. I said, you know what, why not? And then it was all over. I fell victim to the game's lovable characters and unlock-based gameplay. I have always been weak to the grind. I stayed obsessed as long as it took me to unlock V, my favorite horrible-to-play-as character, and also all of the Easter stuff that ended up releasing in the middle of my hyperfixation. Of course, all that took practice, and Quinn and Co. weren't always around to help me. So, what did I do to get better? A. Wait for the more skilled players to be around so that I could more easily make it to higher floors. B. Join random players from the lobby who were likely still more skilled than me. Or C. Grab a bunch of my friends who had never played ever and throw ourselves like lemmings into the depths. I mean, do you even have to ask?
Oh no, I'm gonna die.
That's
I'm here for blood.
Get fucked, nerd.
Don't laugh at me!
What the fuck?
Hi, dumbass. Oh shit.
I think I'm a lot more qualified to cover the game now. But that brings me to the disclaimer I want to make before really getting into it. We are looking at the game and only the game. Today, we're only asking the question, Dandy's World is hated, but is it even because of the game itself? So what is Dandy's World? Starting with a basic idea of the story, in 1984, the Garden View Center was constructed. Then, in 1988, the Toons were created. And not just concepted, no, I mean in real life. Created from a substance known as ichor, the Garden View Center homed real-life cartoon characters, all tasked with giving a memorable experience for the kids and adults alike who came to visit. Then there came the show itself. Dandy's World began airing episodes sometime around 1990, clocking in 4 possible seasons before stopping in 2002 after Garden View closed down. And why did it close down? That's where it gets tricky. All we know is ichor was behind it, likely in the hands of Delilah Keene, the one responsible for creating the Toons' physical forms. It's implied by her cold and pushy personality that she did something to cause creatures known as Twisted Toons, and after that, everything definitely went downhill. So years after closing, the Toons now wander the empty halls of Garden View, living day to day with only one mission. And what might that be? In Dandy's World, you take control of one of the Toons. You must enter the elevator to descend into the Garden View Museum with up to 8 others to extract ichor from machines, progressing floor by floor. Machines must be done individually, and as you work on one, you will be given skill checks. You can hit a good skill check or a great skill check. Greats add more progress. When all machines are done, the elevator will open, giving everyone on the floor 30 seconds to get in before it shuts and leaves you behind. which is an instant death. Make it inside though and you're on your way to the next floor. Of course, danger lurks on every floor. While working, you'll have to contend with twisteds, ichor-ridden versions of the toons you play as. If you're spotted by one, they will pursue you. There are 3 ways to lose a twisted. One is by losing line of sight, which is usually done by looping them around obstacles. Think Dead by Daylight, but for babies. Another is by being hit. Twisteds are momentarily stunned after hitting you, giving you a chance to hide before they remember you exist. You only have 3 hearts to play with, so don't be stupid. Even more so if you are playing a main character, as they have even less. The last method of losing aggro is with a smoke bomb, a rare item that can be purchased or found on the ground. It instantly removes focus from a twisted in pursuit and gives you time to run before they're able to spot you again. More on items later. You'll keep descending, floor after floor, until everyone dies, obviously. Gameplay will become more difficult the deeper down you are, and this occurs even earlier if you're playing with more people. You'll have to complete more machines, and there will be more twisteds roaming. Twisteds get more dangerous the deeper you are, with classes from common to rare and an additional class I'll go over in a bit. While common twisteds have no special abilities beyond slight stat increases in cases like Twisted Yada, who is faster than average, uncommon and rare twisteds have gimmicks that can range from rendering them totally docile to making them a complete pain in the ass. An example of a docile twisted would be Twisted Roger, who simply hides in a capsule, trying to trick you into picking it up where he will then attack. Since most players know how not to provoke one of these, dociles are often seen as a blessing. Examples of irritating twisteds, though, are Twisted Gigi, who steals an item when she hits you, the Craft twins, Scraps and Goob, who can both grapple you from afar, and Glisten, who must be babysat lest he snap and begin ruthlessly chasing anyone he sees, except when he does it anyway if you complete all machines. And then there's the twisteds known as mains, short for main characters. Mains are the most dangerous, all sporting abilities that make them harder to deal with than standard enemies. Some apply a status effect to you when they're in pursuit, such as Twisted Astro, who causes your stamina to rapidly decrease, or Twisted V, who slows you down. Others are a constant problem, like Twisted Shelly's floor-wide ability to slow machine progress, or Twisted Sprout's lingering ichor tentacles that hit anyone nearby. Honorary mention to Easter event character Twisted Bassie, whose ichor flowers slow anyone passing them. Then there is the dreaded Twisted Pebble, whose speed when chasing is the highest in the game. When deep enough, you might see 2 or 3 mains at once, and your chance also increases for a blackout, which is exactly how it sounds. The power goes out, making it difficult to see machines and threats if you're not one of the few toons who can glow in the dark. Now you're not without aid for all this. There are many chances to pick up or buy useful items. Most items, save for healing items, or one-offs like the aforementioned Smoke Bomb, affect your stats. Each toon has 5 stats. Skill Check, which affects how much progress a toon gets from a great skill check as well as how big the window is to do so. Movement Speed, which determines how fast you can walk or sprint. Stamina, which determines how long you can sprint. Stealth, which affects how far away a twisted can spot you, and low stealth determines who is spotted out of a crowd, and extraction speed, which determines how quickly a toon fills machines without skill checks. Candy is the most common thing to find, which boosts a single stat based on its name. For example, Speed Candy makes you faster. And I mentioned buying items earlier. In the elevator, every other floor, Dandy will open a shop where he accepts tapes as currency. Tapes are found on the floor or from doing just about anything from completing machines to using items. Heck, even getting spotted gets you tapes. The rarer the item Dandy's selling, the more tapes it'll cost. The most expensive being smoke bombs, valves, and eject buttons at 150 tapes each. It's always fun when he wants to sell these on floor 1 when everyone is broke and then never does again. And if you can't buy something, there's a chance for other boosts as well. On floors without Dandy, you'll have the opportunity to vote on a perk out of 3 randomly selected. These can include adding time to get to the elevator, healing everyone by 1 heart, increasing item spawn rarity, things like that. You can also enter a run with items called trinkets. Some can be bought from Dandy's shop in the lobby, and most come from maxing out your research on the various twisteds simply by encountering them enough. Trinkets can give you a permanent boost or work as a one-time thing that triggers under certain conditions. You can have 2 equipped at once. Boost trinkets include the thermos, which always increases your stamina regeneration by 15%, and the spare bulb, which increases how far you can see in blackouts. More conditional trinkets include Vanity Mirror, which greatly increases your run speed when the elevator timer is active, and V's Remote, which instantly completes the first machine you use on any floor, as long as more than half of the machines aren't already done. That's pretty much the idea. But of course, players have come up with their own methods to spice things up a bit. It's time to talk about roles and strategies. Dandy's World doesn't feature any unique game modes. More on that later, but it's forced players to improvise to keep the game interesting. There's 2 categories to this improvisation. That's run types and player types, or at least what I'm calling them. Run types refer to what sort of run a group would like to do. Common run types include playing main runs, dandy runs, and long runs. Main runs require everyone in the group to be a main character toon, so only Sprout, Shelly, Astro, V, Pebble, Bobette, or Bassie are allowed. I'm not sure there's an advantage to this. If anything, it might be harder than a usual run since all main characters only have 2 hearts rather than 3 to balance out their higher stats. Personally, I think they're a bit egotistical, given mains take so much grinding to obtain, but it's not like you can't just ignore them. Dandy runs are probably harder though. There was one Twisted I didn't touch on, and that's Twisted Dandy. Remember when I mentioned there was one more class of Twisted? This is a lethal, and the only one in the game. He doesn't spawn normally, only appearing once you've refused to buy anything from Dandy's shop for long enough. Therefore, a Dandy run involves no one buying anything from Dandy, with the occasional exception if he has medical supplies, so that he'll become upset and spawn in his Twisted form, letting you get research for him. He resets every time you survive a floor with that form, so you can get it multiple times in a run, although it's difficult to go for a long time as his attack is the only one in the game to kill you in one hit regardless of your remaining health. Not even the Savory Charm trinket, which grants one-time protection from what would have been a fatal attack, can stop it. The simplest type of run, I suppose, is a long run or normal run. That's when you just play the game to the best of your ability and try to get as far as you can. Once you're in a run, that's when unique strategies come into play. Different toons are better at different things because of their stats, and these skills can be further amplified with a good trinket loadout. The first role to discuss is the Distractor role, best for a toon with high speed stats or an attraction ability. This toon's responsibility is to gather all of the Twisteds on a floor and keep them occupied for as long as it takes for every machine to be finished. They also need to be good at plotting out a location to do this, or good at just taking them all on a walk, because there might be a machine nearby that needs accessed, and sometimes toons with lower stealth will wander by and attract the enemies you've collected. Louie is a good distractor, as his walk speed is incredibly high when he's at 1 heart, although he takes skill due to needing to stay near death. That can be mitigated with the use of trinkets that increase your walk speed. Another common choice is Pebble. His 2-heart health needs watching, but his ability lets you attract enemies to you, decreasing how much gathering you need to do, and his walk speed is second only to a dying Louie. The second role to discuss is the Healer role. This has much less to do with stats and only applies to a few toons. Sprout is the best healer, as he can heal anyone by 1 heart at the cost of 100 tapes. It's not uncommon for everyone to help their Sprout by pointing out tapes and saving medical supplies for them, but the medical stuff isn't as important for him as it is for the other 2 healers, Cosmo and Ginger. Despite Ginger only being available during the holidays, these 2 are easier to obtain due to their non-main status, but their healing comes at a cost. It takes one of their own hearts away. Best to let them heal up so they can do that more often. The last role is pretty toon specific. A lot of toons have abilities that can be helpful for everyone else, so they're expected to use them for aid. Brightney can highlight the locations of Twisteds for everyone during blackouts, and V can do it on any floor. Astro can boost the stamina of anyone within his radius, and Bobette has a smaller yet constant aura that does the same. Coco can create bonbons that boost movement and extraction speed, and Yada drops helpful candy when completing a machine or being hurt. You know, 'cause pinata. As a final example, Goob can grab toons and yank them away from danger or into the elevator if they're running late. There's more, but I think we ought to move on to... Dandy's World has issues. A lot of issues, honestly. The most glaring being just how boring the game can get. It's the worst when you've unlocked everything. There is quite literally nothing to do if there's nothing to grind for, unless you really care that much about getting to floor 50 plus or something. Which I guess is something to grind for, so eh. The lead developer, Quell, isn't planning on adding new game modes soon, but in my opinion, that would fix the game's most glaring problem and give you more leniency when it comes to updates, since players would have more to do in the meantime. In my opinion, if this game didn't appeal so much to children, and autistic people like me, with its cute characters, I think it would have died off very quickly. Even when in the midst of the grind, the gameplay can feel very tedious. With a large party, it goes quickly, but as people start dropping, you start to realize how little anything changes. The only gameplay modifier is the blackouts. Nothing else happens to shake up a floor besides more machines and more twisteds. I can branch off into a few more different problems from here, starting with the need for more gameplay modifiers. It's an odd example, but I think Baldi's Basics did this pretty well with its random events. Something really inconvenient can happen, like a flood that makes moving through the halls difficult, or something very nice can happen, like a party that gives you a useful item. Just anything else but the same annoyance every few floors would be nice. Secondly, there should be more stuff to do on each floor. It might not need to be every floor, but currently you just do machines forever. What if you had to quarantine a particularly dangerous twisted, clean ichor to earn more to spend? Hell, even fix a blackout if you were able to. These don't even need to be mandatory, just having the option to do so for a possible reward would make things more interesting. Lastly, there ought to be more ways to get rid of twisteds. Currently, the one way to do so, without a smoke bomb, is to run and lose line of sight. Every one of them, when you get down to it, is the same. Even mains. They just chase you. Unique escape mechanics would make any twisted more threatening. Currently, Pebble is the only one that's scary at all, and it's just because he's really fast. Just throwing out ideas, Sprout's tendrils could actually grab you and you would have to mash to escape. Tisha could make the floor slippery with ichor. V could briefly make you visible to other twisteds just for a second or two. These are just a few twisted escape mechanics that match their friendly version's ability, as a sort of opposite. Currently, the only kinda unique escapes in-game belong to Goob and Scraps. These two are able to grapple you, but then they just start chasing like most everybody else. My other issues are minor but still impactful. 1. Toons can't drop items, not even into the void, to free up a slot. The only one who can do this is Bassie, and there don't seem to be plans to add it to anyone else. Straight up, this should not be exclusive to one character. Changing that would mostly solve the problem of new or malicious players stealing supplies needed by other characters, and those characters wouldn't have to risk damage to get to something you're guarding for them. Speaking of supplies, there's no reason for you not to be allowed to buy multiple of an item in Dandy's shop. Literally, how would it be a problem? And the items should tell you their use before you buy them. How are new players meant to know what instructions or stopwatches do just by looking at them? And as one last point, the game's sound design is really lacking. I'm pretty sure almost everything is from Roblox's free sound effect library. I don't know all the sources for stuff that isn't, but I know Blackouts use the FNAF Power Out sound for one. And why is there no music? Not even ambient music. Clear de Lune and several other classic recordings are literally the only songs in this game. The sound in this game completely lacks any identity. Please give us a soundtrack that won't get us claimed. But this ends my analysis of Dandy's world. I think I lost him. Man, it's been 30 years since 87. I thought they'd have given it a rest by now. Guess I gotta just wait it out here, wherever here is. Is this some sort of restaurant?
And that just about wraps up your orientation. First order of business is...
Now what Kentucky Fried fuckery have I gotten myself into? What an interesting circumstance this game is. It's not every day you see a content farm actually try to branch out into new ways of taking your brain cells. That's right. Cluckies is a Roblox game created by GameToons, a YouTube animation channel owned by Newscape Studios that specializes in slop animations based around whatever horror thing is popular. Examples include Poppy Playtime, Rainbow Friends, Garden of Banban, and Sprunky, of course. We aren't here to talk about these strangely entertaining abominations, or the horrendous practices this studio makes their animators work under though. No, we're here to talk about what happens when your low-quality animation just isn't making enough money. Around 9 months ago, in August 2024, GameToons posted what was apparently their last video. However, it instead was an 11-minute advertisement for their upcoming mascot horror game, Cluckies. After posting that and releasing said game, they proceeded to make brain rot of their own IP for, let's see, how long did that last? 9 videos releasing over the course of nearly 2 months. After all that, they realized the game just wasn't doing as well as the videos. And so in October 2024, they ceased supporting the game entirely, and nowadays it's just a shell of what it was back in autumn, evident by the autumn-themed loot boxes in stock. Oh boy! That's about the only thing that still works, actually. If you try to get into a game, it just doesn't bring you anywhere. So, yeah, this is gonna be another one where I have to get footage from somebody else. Thankfully, I played the version that wasn't finished last year, so I can go off memory for how it felt to play. And strangely, it's not that bad. You know, if you ignore all this garbage on the side, I'm just gonna look into the gameplay, because if we get into predatory Roblox gambling practices, we'll be here for the rest of our lives.
And that just about wraps up your orientation.
Cluckies begins with you wrapping up some employee orientation. I assume none of it was consensual, considering the usual plot of the animations being that most people working here were pretty much locked in. The first duty we have as an employee is to clean up the restaurant, since a lot of, almost chicken is still lying around, and I guess we're trying to save that to serve later, health inspectors be damned. Clucky warns us to watch out for Jackson Jackal, one of the mascots, while we do this. But he's also shown letting him out of a cell to come hunt us down, so the villain here is pretty obvious. Once the gameplay starts, it just turns into Rainbow Friends. It's repetitive and easy, meant to appeal to kids, meant to get them to grab their parents' credit cards so they can play again and again and again until mom finally needs the iPad back. No use stating the obvious, given this game will never change, so I'm not going to be going super in-depth on the base gameplay for each segment of the game. However, if you haven't played Rainbow Friends, I'll explain it once for clarity. In this type of game, you're going through multiple missions in one night, and the goal is always to collect a specific thing while avoiding monsters. Other players will usually have joined you too. In Cluckies, you start off grabbing chicken buckets. In Rainbow Friends, it starts off with blocks for some reason, but you get it. Both games begin with a typical chaser monster, that being Jackson here and Blue there. These enemies can only chase you and will lose line of sight pretty easily. There are places to hide from them too. Cluckies has lockers, dumpsters, and high places. Rainbow Friends has a few different ones. Coupling lockers with environment pieces, the monsters are simply too big to reach you in. When you get all the collectibles you need, that starts the next hour of your adventure, where a new monster will be added into the mix, and you'll have to collect something else. Any monsters past the first have different abilities. For example, Rainbow Friends adds Green, who cannot see or chase you, but isn't affected by some hiding spots and will stand in place for long periods, often blocking off paths. Cluckies adds, well, let's just get back to the game and see him in action. So all the chicken has been collected despite the minor threat of Jackson. What's next? Uh-oh, looks like we have an
Emergency frog situation!
Rufus Ribbit has sabotaged the token machine in the arcade, scattering tokens everywhere, so it's off to collect tokens this time. Now, I actually like Rufus's gimmick, but I think he's a bit weak. I wish I could get back in-game to test it, but I don't think he can technically see you, as I never saw him chasing anyone. Instead, he'll hop around the restaurant and occasionally stop, producing a purple aura. If you get close enough to this aura, it'll turn red, letting you know that if you don't get away quickly, he'll grapple you with his tongue, killing you. I think he could have used the ability to see. Just with the aura, he's incredibly easy to avoid. Apparently, real frogs are best at seeing movement because of how fast their prey moves. If Rufus could only kill you during a search if you were moving, it'd make him much more of a problem, especially when there are other enemies to run from. Speaking of other enemies, brief intermission to mention there's a ball pit monster. It is a monster that lives in the ball pit, and it will grab you and eat you if you aren't careful in there. And no, it's not a rabbit from the 1980s. Moving on, the next threat is the Polar Prince. He's probably inspired by the icy bear. He's a massive polar bear who seems to have a habit of breaking his own slushy fountain. Seems counterproductive, but okay. Guess we're in charge of grabbing the gears that came out of it. The prince is probably the weakest enemy despite his threatening appearance. He skates around the building, leaving a trail of ice wherever he goes. Walking in that trail of ice does nothing to you, and it lets you see where he's gone, so you know to avoid that area. If you somehow get spotted anyway, I think he's a bit of a faster chaser than the others because of the ice, but that's kinda all he has going on. It's probably obvious, but if the ice did something to you, that'd automatically make him better. Either walking in it could give you a speed debuff or speed you up. Sure, that could make it easier to avoid him, but it could also make you slide into him. That, or when he points his staff at you before he chases, that could cast a spell on you to slow you down with ice. I swear I remember him slowing me down at some point in game, but I can't for the life of me find footage of it. There's only one last enemy to be added before the endgame, this being Barney Beaverton. Unfortunately, Barney suffers from a tragic affliction known as "they forgot to rig my face." He comes out and jackhammers a locked box full of keys? Come on, did we run out of ideas that quickly? Since Barney is a construction worker, he's broken a gaping hole in the middle of the dining area. This got my hopes up. I was assuming he'd have broken other things around the building too, which would have forced players to take some different paths than normal. But no, it's just this one hole. And if you get spotted by Barney, guess what he does? He chases you! Daring today, aren't we? I think his jackhammer could have played a part in his gameplay. Perhaps he could have left behind a torn up path that would fade after a bit, but was uncrossable while present. Maybe if he crossed through an area his jackhammer shaking the ground could knock stuff down and make it harder to traverse, giving players the option to fix it with the typical hold a button prompt common in Roblox. Play up the construction theme and all. Oh, but I guess he does have facial rigging. Good to know. Let's skip ahead to the part I never got to play. Those keys that Barney scattered open this door in Clucky's office, which leads to a single trapdoor, dropping the player into the final round. Oh, good art. I honestly forgot to mention the loading screen art, given it's not me playing. They did a really nice job with all of it. Anyway, a cutscene plays when you get down here. I'll let that go on for a second.
Looks like you've been promoted to our value menu. It's a shame you'll never get to see what's really cooking down here, because there's much more to this place than food and friendly service. But you know what they say, if you can't handle the heat, then stay out of the kitchen. What? No! I'll deal with her later. But for now, it's just you and me.
And now, Clucky is being released. The most threatening sentence I've ever read. Cueing the ever-so-common mascot horror final chase scene. The restaurant scene seems to have been completely thrown out the window in exchange for an active construction zone. During the chase, you're required to jump gaps, dodge wrecking balls and steam, and run through comically oversized vents until you reach a three-way path. In this large room, you have 3 options, and Clucky limits you at 30 seconds to choose. Since you have to do a bit of parkour to reach one, probably a good idea to choose quickly. Each room has completely different scenery though. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but in the easy way out, you run past a dusty desert and through a saloon, ending with a cowboy-era jail. In the not-so-easy way out, there's a snowy place with frozen lakes where falling in the water will freeze you and kill you. And in certain death, it's, you know what, not feeling the death that much. Nice colors. The water is toxic though, so that's not great. The platforming here is definitely the hardest of the sections, and given Clucky gets faster once you're in one of the sections, I imagine you'd have to be confident in your ability to wrangle jank Roblox controls if you picked this. Because it doesn't actually matter what door you pick, they all lead to the same place. A massive fry cooker with white-hot oil underneath suspended paths. Giant chicken legs decorate the sides, probably cooking in the oil. All that really goes on here is you run from Clucky. If you die to him... Wait, hold on a minute, that was kinda cool. Why didn't we get more of that? He casually chases you on a linear path until somehow the player teleports to a button, pressing it to drop the pathways into the oil. Clucky's still on them, so naturally this results in some extra fried chicken for the batch.
I'll get you! You'll never escape! Clucky!
And then we do a little dance. Clucky's ends with the main man jealous that the doorframe wants to hit on me, not him. Alright, I'm kidding. The timing is a bit awkward to go over it, but since the game hasn't got much in-your-face story, let me explain a little bit of the plot from the animations, because this voice belongs to a character from those, known as Mama Demonica. I actually find the story of Clucky's to be kind of interesting. Sure, it's nothing groundbreaking and you have to watch slop animations to find anything out, but that's why I'm here, to watch brain rot so you don't have to. Clucky is not actually a living, talking, anthropomorphic chicken, and he never was. He's always been a man named Richard, who lives in constant jealousy of his brother Jack. Their father, Charles, clearly likes Jack a lot more than Richard, and the latter is convinced that Jack is always out to get him, seeing accidents as malicious actions. This Mama Demonica character appears as a voice in Richard's head trying to get him to off his brother, which he initially refuses. Eventually, their father is planning a commercial for his restaurant, Clucky's, but the actor for Clucky drops out, leading Richard to make the quick decision to play him instead, pleasing his father. Jack gets the Jackson Jackal costume after trying to refuse in an attempt to let his brother have one thing unique to him, and Jack ends up outshining his brother on stage. One fast forward ahead, their father is now dying in the hospital. He gives his sons his will, and Richard is upset to find that everything has been left to Jack. This is when Demonica finally gets through. Putting it simply, Richard puts on the mascot suit and pushes Jack off a tower in the construction zone for the Polar Prince's castle, killing him. He then snaps completely, never taking the suit off again and fully identifying as Clucky, the only thing he was ever good at doing. So it's just a dude in there. I'm not sure where the other mascots came from, that's not explained. They might just follow the classic living experiment trope, but Clucky himself feels unique. He's not a corpse, he's not mind-controlled, he's not a strange monster. He's just a really egotistical weirdo LARPing as a chicken. The game does give you some secret VHS tapes around the map that explain other lore though. This lore focuses on the other mascots. It's not super deep, but follows the mascots fighting over chicken that the Polar Prince ends up trying to stop them from eating, because he knows Clucky's doing something to it to make it so addictive that it controls them. Clucky immediately stops him, giving him the scar on his eye, and gets him under control just like the rest of the characters. Then he hints at why he was hiring employees in the first place. It was to feed them to the mascots, so they didn't go through the customer's chicken supply. You could've just not drugged the mascots? Okay, the video's gone on too long, I'm not gonna start questioning the logic of a cartoon chicken. Long story short, Clucky's is decent. It has some redeeming moments, but plenty more subpar ones. But hey, we went in with low standards. So why is Clucky's even in the video if it wasn't bad enough to earn the disdain my title implies? Well, I don't hate it, and you probably don't hate it either. It's only hated, in a way, by its creators. It wasn't even released in a finished state. You know all that stuff with the Clucky chase and the actual quality jump scare? The game didn't come out with any of that. It came out cutting off at the fourth, quote, night, ending with a "to be continued." I'm pretty sure that Rush ended up working against them and being the main reason the game died off so quickly. If you're promoting something this much, people are gonna assume it's actually finished. And when it isn't, if they didn't fall in love with it, which naturally won't happen if you release it without what could be considered the best part, they're not going to come back for more of the same slog. It's sad to see a game that clearly had some effort put in be abandoned after such a short time, because I'm sure the developers responsible cared. I mean, for some closing notes, aesthetic-wise, I think this game was doing pretty good. I'd say the characters are definitely accurate to how McDonald's used to present itself commercially. You've got a villain character, you've got the main boss, you've got his fantasy friends, and their designs are all simple and colorful enough to be convincing children's characters. And although Clucky is the only one that speaks, his performance is convincing. Apparently he was voiced by the lead writer and voice director of Game Tunes, Ryan Stewart, so he definitely knows what he's doing. The environment fits the game and looks decent, besides the evident quirks of Roblox models. Design-wise, it's like if McDonald's decided to take up a parking lot's worth of space with every restaurant they build. In the odd timeline where they might have, I imagine it would have been something like this. Themed areas for their characters, a massive dining area, and a lake of cooking oil for problematic customers. No, that sounds right. Then, lastly, the character animations are actually pretty decent. Jump scares get really janky sometimes, but when they casually move around the map, they don't look half bad, and their introductory cutscenes work for what they need to do. But I suppose there's nothing to be done about it now. We can all go play Rainbow Friends Chapter 3 instead or something. Oh, wait, never mind. Ugh, I've gotten nothing but lost trying to do this stupid fetch quest. Can't even see a lick of an exit. Well now, ain't that something?
Sorry, but quitting's not really an option. I'm gonna kindly insist you finish your scheduled shift.
Oh, Clucky, whatever shall I do? And so we conclude. Hey, I gotta be honest, I've wanted to do this video since April, but admittedly Dandy's World was the thing holding it off because 1, I didn't want to take attention from Quinn's video, and 2, the game kept updating. Now that it's at a bit of a lull, I feel confident in going ahead with this, and I had a lot of fun with it. I like making more complex videos with the cutaway skits and stuff, I just couldn't do them as much before since I had to focus on the editing part first. Now that I have editors, I hope you can look forward to more personable videos like this in the future. Well, as long as you actually liked it. Anyway, this has been Glamrock Dusky, and remember, have a phasorific day!